If you have looked into LED tube lights for video production before, Quasar Science are one of the key brands which you will have seen cropping up time and time again. They were actually one of the first on the market to start making them roughly 10 years ago now. Unlike a lot of their competition, who came from theatre lighting or other areas like that, Quasar Science was founded by a group of Hollywood lighting technicians. They're a Hollywood lighting company through and through, focusing very heavily on the film and TV market. They're built by lighting technicians for lighting technicians, and in that American film and TV market, they've been hugely popular. Now here in the UK though, supply has sometimes been a challenge, and that has meant that their competitors like Astera or Nanlite and LEDGO have seen quite wide adoption instead. All of that is about to change though, as Quasar Science announced in April 2021 that they've been bought by Vitec Group, the umbrella company for light panels, Small HD, Teradek, Anton Bauer, Sachtler, Manfrotto. The list of huge brands just goes on and on. Vitec have a huge presence here in the UK with a tried and tested supply chain to rely on. So we're now starting to see the impact of their involvement with Quasar Science, and things are getting a whole load easier for us as suppliers and for you as Quasar Science customers here in the UK. So now is a great time for us to start taking a look properly at their latest products, the Rainbow 2 and the Double Rainbow tubes. So these are RGB tube lights with very accurate white light. We have four here to look at, the Q25 and Q50 Rainbow 2 tubes. There's also a longer Q100, which is an incredible 2.3 meters long. We then have the RR50 and RR100 double rainbow tubes, which are pretty much the same lengths as the Q25 and Q50s. We took a light meter reading for each of these lights we have here at 5600 Kelvin max brightness and got these results. Easily good enough across the board to be used in any situation, including as the main key light on your talent, which really is the aim here. Yes, of course these can be used in frame as practical lights or effect lights within your shot, but they aren't as low profile as a light as something like the Astera, for example. They don't have a built-in battery, and the controls are here on the front, not hidden away on the back. So of course you can use them within your frame if you want to, but Quasar's main focus when designing these was on using them more like a traditional style of light source. It could be better to think of these more as a small and portable alternative to something like the light panels Gemini, for example. Easier to rig anywhere, move around quickly and travel with. They're easy to run off any power supply you like, be it mains power or V-Lock batteries, and they're much easier to manage than internal batteries. They have RJ45 DMX ports built in as well, so you don't need a separate accessory box hanging off each light in order to use them in a DMX environment, which is really important. Plus you have a bunch of wireless options as well, from full-blown wireless DMX to simple Bluetooth control over an app for smaller use cases, although that app apparently isn't quite ready for release just yet, so we haven't seen that. These are definitely lights that can scale to all kinds of users, from the largest productions down to the smallest one-man band style users. Each tube does have physical full controls as well, of course. These aren't the quickest control systems I've ever used, but they get the job done. You can cycle through each menu option and change it, which is great for fine control over less frequently used options, but for simple things like intensity and color temperature, it does require several button presses, and I do find myself missing separate dials for each of those, like on bigger lights. I do like the blackout button though, which means you can quickly turn the light on or off while keeping the menus and the actual engine of the light on. So you can cycle through your settings without blinding yourself or irritating your subject with a constantly changing light. One area that these tubes are simply hands down better than most of the competition with though is mounting. Quasar use this rail-based system, which they call the Ossium mounting system. It's essentially a NATO rail, which you can screw directly into or slide mounting accessories onto. There's a sliding mounting plate and a baby pin, which you get included with the light. There's then a rotator, which works like a bit like a mini grip head, a battery plate, and some magnets. And all of these can be mounted either directly onto the rail or bolted together. So you can have a baby pin on the slider, for example, which works really well. And all of these feel incredibly robust and sturdy. You can really tell that this is a system that has been designed by people used to working on a film set. For a light like this, where you're going to want to mount it in all sorts of strange places, having a mounting system that is as flexible but robust as this is very welcome. Now, I mentioned that these are RGB tubes, but I haven't mentioned yet their main party trick. So these can't only reproduce one single color like most regular RGB tubes. These tubes are made up of pixels, and the Quasar tubes actually have more pixels going down them than any other tube on the market. Each pixel can be controlled independently with its own RGB values and brightness levels. This can be used for crazy party effects like this, of course, but it can also have much more practical uses. The first one that springs to mind is using these in virtual production environments. That is a huge world that I have no personal experience in whatsoever, but if you're syncing your lights with a huge LED wall, this granular pixel control over IP-based ArtNet DMX systems seems like a perfect tool to me. Let me know if you have any experience in that world down below. I'd love to hear from you. But you don't have to be a huge production to take advantage of the pixel controls though. Pretty much every RGB light has lighting effects now, but with independent pixel control, it adds a whole new level of realism to them. There's paparazzi ones where the flashes will come from varying angles. There's police sirens that will flash each half of the light independently. And then there's effects like fire that have really fine control for a much more natural flicker. Here's the fire effect from the light panel's Gemini, and here's the fire effect from the double rainbow. It makes for a much subtler and more natural feeling result. But at the end of the day, these lights are about the quality of the light output. And they look great, even as a key light. The long tube shape is a great way of getting a soft wraparound light with a small lightweight profile. Is it as soft and as flattering as a big softbox or diffusion sheet? No, of course it's not. But it's so much easier to fit into small spaces than a big softbox. It's easier to maneuver around, and it requires much less power for the same brightness levels. It's a great system to use, especially when lighting objects. I'm a big fan of long tubes for product shots, especially reflective surfaces where you can see the long shape reflected in the product. Plus, of course, they're tubes. You can mount them anywhere pretty much, especially the smaller ones, either in shots for effects or in small background spaces. The long soft shape also makes them great backlights when boomed over your subject with a C-stand. The light hits both shoulders and the head fairly evenly, which is hard to do with smaller lights. Overall, these are probably the best tube lights I've ever used when using them as an actual production light rather than an in-frame light. They're incredibly well built and smartly designed, with all of the mounting and control options you need to fit them into big productions or small ones. But let me know what you think of the Rainbow 2 and the double rainbow LED tubes in the comment section down below. And if you want to buy them for your own work, then of course, just head over to proav.co.uk. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.